Part 1. America, Before the Ships. Close your eyes. For a moment, forget everything you've seen in Hollywood westerns. Forget the images of scattered tents in a silent, empty wilderness. The year is 1491, 1 year before the horizon is forever altered by white sails. You are standing on the banks of the Mississippi River. What you see is not a virgin forest, but a sprawling metropolis, a city with a population larger than London or Paris at the time, a place where giant earthen pyramids touch the clouds and trade routes stretch thousands of miles, from the icy lakes of Canada to the steaming jungles of Mexico. It is a common myth that pre-Columbian America was a wilderness waiting to be tamed. The truth is far more breathtaking. This was a beehive of civilizations. People here spoke hundreds of languages, built observatories more accurate than those in Europe, and engineered the very crops that feed the modern world today. Today, we go back. We will see America through the eyes of those who called this land home for 10,000 years. Welcome to the world before the ships. Part 2. Cahokia, the forgotten metropolis. Our journey begins in the heart of the continent, modern-day Illinois. Here, at the confluence of great rivers, rose the city of Cahokia. By 1100 AD, this was the largest urban center north of Mexico. Look at the center of the city, Monk's Mound. Its base is larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Think about that for a second. 10 stories of hand-packed earth, millions of baskets of soil carried on human backs. At the summit, the great sun, the priest king, lived in a wooden palace looking down upon a city of 20,000 people. Interesting fact, the people of Cahokia were master astronomers. They built Woodhenge, a massive circle of cedar posts that tracked the solstices with mathematical precision. They weren't just farmers, they were keepers of time. But look at the streets. You see a game of chunky, an adrenaline-fueled sport involving stone discs and spears. You see merchants trading seashells from the Gulf of Mexico and raw copper from the Great Lakes. Cahokia was the financial and spiritual heartbeat of a continent. It was a civilization that hummed with life centuries before a single European foot touched this soil. Part 3. Skyscrapers of the desert, the Great Pueblo. We move west into the harsh, beautiful deserts of the American Southwest. Here, in Chaco Canyon, architecture reached its zenith. Imagine a building 5 stories high, containing over 700 rooms. This was Pueblo Bonito. Until the 1880s, no larger apartment building existed in the United States. The hook? How did they build this in a desert? To construct Chaco Canyon, over 200,000 timber logs were required. The nearest forest was 50 miles away. They had no horses, no oxen, and no wheels. Every single tree was carried by hand across the desert. It was an act of incredible collective will. These people, the ancestors of the modern Pueblo, didn't just build homes, they built a mirror of the cosmos. Every door and window was aligned to the 18.6-year lunar cycle. They lived in harmony with the rhythm of the stars. But by 1300 AD, these cities were silent. Was it a great drought, war, or did they simply decide it was time to move on? They left behind ghost cities that still echo with the memory of their prayers. Part 4. The Great Law, the Iroquois Confederacy. While pyramids rose in the south, a different kind of power was being forged in the forests of New York and Canada, an idea that would eventually change the world. For centuries, 5 nations, the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, were locked in blood feuds. But then came a man known as the Peacemaker. He brought the Great Law of Peace. Thus was born the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois Confederacy.
a fact that shocks many. The United States Constitution was significantly inspired by this system. Benjamin Franklin marveled at how the Iroquois united independent states into a powerful union while preserving individual liberty. While kings claimed divine right to rule as tyrants, the Iroquois practiced democracy, and most importantly, the power belonged to the women. The clan mothers chose the chiefs, and they had the power to remove them if they led the people toward war. This was a civilization of profound balance and human rights. Part 5. Lords of the Ocean, the Northwest Coast. Now we travel to where the mountains meet the Pacific. Here lived the Tlingit and the Haida. These were the Vikings of America. Their wealth didn't come from gold, it came from the ocean. Salmon was their currency. The bounty was so vast that they didn't need to spend all day working just to survive. This gave them the ultimate luxury: time. Time for art. Look at their totem poles. They aren't just decorations, they are libraries. Every animal, every face is a family history, a creation myth, or a record of a great event. Their greatest tradition was the potlatch. It is a concept that baffles the modern capitalist. In a potlatch, a chief's greatness was measured not by what he accumulated, but by what he gave away. He would give his entire fortune to his guests. In this world, you were only as great as your generosity. Part 6. The Great Pharmacy, Engineering Nature. We often think of Native Americans as simple gatherers, but they were the greatest geneticists in human history. Did you know that corn does not exist in the wild? It is a man-made creation, a result of thousands of years of selective breeding from a tiny grass called teosinte. Indigenous Americans invented it. They also engineered the potato, the tomato, chocolate, vanilla, and most varieties of beans. 60% of the food the world eats today was developed right here in wild America. They used a system called the Three Sisters. Corn provides a ladder for beans to climb, beans put nitrogen back into the soil, and squash leaves cover the ground, acting as a living mulch to prevent weeds. It was a perfect, self-sustaining ecosystem. And their medicine? While Europe was still using bloodletting, American healers were using quinine for malaria, aspirin from willow bark, and sophisticated hygiene practices. Epilogue: The Horizon. The year 1491 is coming to an end. On this vast continent, millions of lives are unfolding. Someone is writing poetry in the Navajo language. Someone is calculating the stars in Ohio. Someone is preparing dinner in a longhouse in Ontario. This was a world of complexity, honor, and a deep spiritual connection to the earth. They were not people of the past, they were living in their present, building for their future, unaware that their world was about to collide with the greatest threat in its history. But before we turn the page to 1492, let us remember them as they were. Not as victims, but as builders, not as savages, but as philosophers. America was not discovered, it was met.